Good morning. It's Wednesday, January 8th. We'll be talking about Donald Trump's press conference in Mar-a-Lago of yesterday, which certainly has people screaming for good and bad reasons. But before we get to that, I would like to speak about some of the major developments on the planet and then how we can act to ensure that the incoming administration is actually successful at what President Trump says he intends to do, which some of his policies are not going to allow him to do. So, first of all, the really big news is that the fourth most populous nation on the planet, Indonesia, with 284 million people, has officially become a full member of the BRICS. And that means that, as the Chinese said in welcoming Indonesia, the BRICS now have 7 of the world's top 10 most populous nations, including India with 1.4 billion, China with 1.4 billion, Indonesia with nearly 300 million, Nigeria with 235 million, Brazil with 212 million, Russia with 144 million people, and Ethiopia with 133,800,000 people. So the BRICS process is growing and will continue to grow, and it will grow especially if the United States does not break from the British imperialist geopolitical outlook, which seems to have gripped many people, including elements within the Trump administration. The other very significant development as against the horrific genocide which continues to destroy tens of thousands of lives in Gaza is that the American Historical Association meeting in New York. This is a group of historians. They represent about 10,000 academics, historians, authors. They met in New York in the first days of this year, and they have passed a resolution against scholasticide, saying that Israel has deliberately destroyed an entire educational system in Gaza, that they oppose the United States funding of Israel's war on Palestine. They call for an immediate ceasefire, and they are calling for the association to form a committee to rebuild Gaza's educational system after the war. The vote was quite huge, 428 to 88. That's 5-1. So this is very important. Hopefully, it will also have an effect on liberating some students on American campuses to be protected in their protest against the ongoing genocide, where now you have at least 8 cases of infants who have died of hypothermia. I'm sure it's worse than that. And the onslaught against medical doctors continues. So now to the speech of President-elect Donald Trump. A lot of it is accurate, is why people voted for him. The point that he makes about the corruption of the lying intelligence agencies, the fact that the elections are not fair, that inflation is too high, that we need an honest vote count, that the windmills are killing whales. They're a blight on the land. They're not generating any electricity. The Department of Justice, or what Kash Patel called in his children's book, The Dragon of Jalapenos, witch hunting against political figures. But then his comments about why we need Greenland for security, which just strikes me as bizarre, unless you're thinking of the world geopolitically, unless you believe that China is a threat, which it is not. And if the United States had a just policy and was investing in our own science and economic development, we wouldn't feel threatened by these other countries. Canada, I just think, is frankly hilarious. The 51st state. I mean, Trudeau is out, but the 2 leading candidates are Chrystia Freeland, who is Her grandfather was a banderist. Let me say, she went to Ukrainian camps as a child, giving certain Hitlerian salutes. So, and then Mark Carney, who will kill billions of people with his green energy policies. If those are the two leading candidates for prime minister in Canada, the place is really in trouble. So come on, Canadians, let's make your nation a republic. Now, then we get to the intelligence agencies, and this is what I wanted to focus on, because if Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard have their way with what they are intending to do, Tulsi's been very quiet, and I'm wondering if Trump is saying a lot of these kind of seemingly absurd things about Greenland and taking back the Panama Canal just as diversionary confetti because he's working on other matters, or if he really means them, I don't know. But there is a wild brawl to prevent Gabbard from becoming the director of national intelligence and Patel from becoming director of the FBI. And I'm going to share here a letter that was circulated by a whole bunch of former State Department and others to the leaders of the Senate. Okay. Dear Majority Leader-elect Thune and Majority Leader Schumer, as senior national security professionals who have served in both Republican and Democratic administrations, we welcome the president-elect's intention to nominate Senator Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio, he's like a snake oil salesman neocon. And Elizabeth Warren loves the guy, an experienced public servant for Secretary of State. However, we are alarmed by the announcement that the president-elect intends to nominate Tulsi Gabbard to be Director of National Intelligence. She would be entrusted to oversee 18 U.S. intelligence agencies. I thought we had 17. I don't know what the new one is, but they can't apparently spy on us enough. In light of this extraordinary responsibility, senators must carefully scrutinize her qualifications as an intelligence professional and her record, including her uncoordinated trip to Syria in 2017 to meet with President Bashar al-Assad, who has been deposed and replaced by a head chopper, ISIS al-Nusra character, who we're now declaring to be a moderate. That's my editorial comment. Several of Ms. Gabbard's past actions call into question her ability to deliver unbiased intel, and they have a link there, which I didn't click. Following her trip to Syria, for example, Ms. Gabbard aligned herself with Russian and Syrian officials. She publicly cast doubt on the U.S. intelligence reports and overwhelming public reporting. They don't say evidence, they say reporting. God forbid Tulsi Gabbard spoke out against the lying mainstream news media that Assad carried out chemical weapons attacks and strikes. And it has been proven that Assad did not do this. Why would he use chemical weapons against his own population when he didn't use them against the ISIS head choppers that were trying to overthrow him? But they are saying that she gave credence to a debunked conspiracy that the attack was staged by agents of the UK. And then here, in response to Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine launched in early 2022, Ms. Gabbard similarly released a video insinuating that US-funded labs in Ukraine were developing biological weapons. Now, excuse me, Victoria Nuland admitted in hearings in the Congress that there are what she called bio-research labs in Ukraine. And the Russians, the assassinated Russian general Kirillov, had presented mounds of evidence to the court in, I'm not sure if it's I think it's Geneva, on the biological warfare, which was being studied at these labs. Okay, and as I said, Victoria Nuland admitted it. So how dare Ms. Gabbard say something that was true? Her sympathy for dictators like Vladimir Putin and Assad raises questions about her judgment and fitness. Unlike Joe Biden, who we all said was perfectly fine and perfectly fit from the beginning. We also note that Ms. Gabbard, if confirmed, would be the least experienced director of national intelligence. Thank God. We don't want people with the experience that these people have. The Senate, blah, blah, blah. So then it's signed by, I'll just give you part, Wendy Sherman, terrible. John Tien, I don't know a lot of these people. Joel, Anthony Lake, they're terrible. These are terrible, warmongering, awful people who have served our nation very badly. And they have sent this letter to the leadership of the US Senate to try and stop Tulsi Gabbard. And then, of course, as I reported earlier, you have William Webster, the 100-year-old former leader of the FBI, who ran the witch hunt against Lyndon LaRouche with Henry Kissinger, the Bush family, Bill Weld, and British intelligence, also warning that Gabbard should not be confirmed. Then we have here Kash Patel's list. Okay, this is the guy they don't want to have as head of the FBI. And as I tell you the names of the people that he intends to investigate and go after, I think many of you may be very excited and see why we have to get this guy in there. We have here Lloyd Austin, Secretary of Defense under Biden, formerly of Raytheon. Bill Barr, former Attorney General under Trump. John Bolton, who just came out attacking Tulsi Gabbard. Joe Biden, John Brennan, the former CIA director that then went over to MSNBC. And we have more. James Clapper, remember him? I think, wasn't he the one who said we're not doing any mass data collection? Hillary Clinton, James Comey, Evelyn Farkas, Sarah Isgur Flores. These people, you should remember their names. Merrick Garland, Stephanie Grissom, Kamala Harris, Gina Haspel, former CIA director. She ran some of the torture policy, really nasty character. Fiona Hill, who is a British Brit who really wants to destroy Russia. Eric Holder, former Attorney General under Obama, who ran the Fast and Furious operation to arm the Mexican drug gangs. Nina Jankowicz, remember her? She was going to head the Disinformation Governance Board. Loretta Lynch, General Mark Milley, the people who refused to allow Trump to get our troops out of Syria. Robert Mueller, Bruce Orr, Nellie Orr, Lisa Page, I think people should remember them, John Podesta, and Samantha Power. I'm not going to go through the rest. I'll let you look it up. But obviously, people are running scared, as they should be, because they have committed terrible crimes against the interest of the United States and the principle of the general welfare. Further, I would say that if Kash Patel begins investigations of these individuals and we stop the mission of Joe Biden to destroy Russia, they're going to run into a collision with the Zionist lobby, because what the Zionist supporters of Bibi Netanyahu are trying to do is to plunge us into war with Russia through Iran, through another means. So these appointments are extremely important. The LaRouche organization is going to be producing a short dossier of all of the lies that have been told by our illustrious intelligence committees, by way of warning the Senate. Do you really want to listen to these liars whose lies have led to the deaths of millions of people, millions of refugees, destroyed the standard of living and the mental health of Americans? Or are you prepared to listen to people who might tell the truth? That's coming out shortly. Also today at 12:30, Helga Zepp-LaRouche will be doing a webcast, her German webcast with simultaneous English and German translation at 12:30. So tune in here for that. And Harley Schlanger will be back with you tomorrow.